Sean Bailey with
Yes,
Smokiez.
sir.
Thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
coming in today. I'm glad you're here today because we have a lot to cover. You and I were just catching up on things that you've done, and currently you're at Smokiez. And tell me what Smokiez is.
Yeah, Smokiez is an edibles brand. So I'm here. I'm a part of the cannabis industry here in Missouri. Pretty much what we do is we do cannabis sales, but we're gummy specific. So we have a whole bunch of different SKUs for anyone who's not familiar with edibles. Edibles is our game. We got all kinds of different bags.
You're talking to someone who is not has no idea really what you're talking about.
Of course.
So edibles. Oh, what are we talking about?
For sure. So most people are going to understand the old-fashioned way. You get some buds, you get some flour, you roll up a little joint, you're smoking a doobie. Mm-hmm. What we've been able to do is then people, they started getting into making brownies and making cookies, and there's a different way of pulling the THC out of the flour itself and putting it into an edible so that you can ingest it. You're going to digest it a different way. You're going to still get the psychoactive effects or the high that you would get from smoking. Most of the time with edibles, it's going to be a little bit longer. So there's pros and cons. Just like a quick, easy, fast way. We're using different solvents to extract that THC out of the flower itself.
So you guys are making this stuff?
Oh, yeah. We've got a huge kitchen.
Oh, really?
Yep. We've got a massive kitchen.
So you're like a confectionery of sorts.
Yeah, man. It's come a long way, which I've been really stoked about. I've smoked for a long period of time.
Total pro.
I wouldn't consider myself a pro, but I'm very knowledgeable.
Working on
There's guys above me that would definitely
step
probably
on any
say
toes.
otherwise. Exactly. I've learned my lesson.
Understood.
But yeah, man, it's been really fun. It was, I don't want to say it kind of dropped in my lap, but honestly, it really did. It's the hands you shake, especially here in Missouri. So I was lucky enough to be brought onto this amazing team, which is Smokiez Edibles. And it's been going phenomenal. I mean, Missouri.
When did you guys start?
Market.
When did you guys go to market with it?
Yeah, so technically the company has been around since 2010. It's a family-owned company. They're called the Wrights, father and son duo. Mm-hmm. And these guys have just been, they opened up a company in 2010 doing a dispensary. And since then, it's blown up. So we're in 23 states across the country. We're a huge MSO. And we launched in Missouri about 4 years ago, so right before Rec, a little more than 4 years ago, right before Rec is when I got brought on.
What's Rec? I don't know what that
So
is.
we have recreational and we have medical.
Got it, okay.
Recreational is just Joe Schmo. You got a state ID. You can come in and buy products.
I'm going to an Almonds concert tonight. I need some whatever.
There you go. Exactly. And then you have the medical side, which was first. We had medical first. Mm-hmm. You got to have a medical card to be able to come into the dispensary. And then you can purchase cannabis. So in February,
how fuzzy was that whole medical card biz? I feel like I'd see somebody and they're like, "Has got a medical card." And look, I know that with my wife's stuff like MS, there's cannabis world is finding medicinal applications for it. So there are tons of real reasons you would. But there are people like, I got my medical card, and I'm like, really? What's wrong with you? And
for sure, I have a medical card.
Okay, I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you. Yes, glaucoma gone, completely gone.
That's wonderful. That's good.
No, I mean you can look at it from different ways. So pretty much the process is real easy. Mm-hmm. You can go in, you talk to your doctor. I mean, you got anxiety, you've got any spinal issues, you got back pain, there's a bunch of things that edibles can help you out with. But it started out really trying to focus on those holistic people, the people who can't sleep, the people who have, we have products that help with IBS. They help mitigate IBS and Crohn's. Cannabis has been found to help with
That's irritable bowel.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
100%.
Right,
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So the medical patients were originally the first ones. We allocated those medical patients to be able to come in, get the cannabis that they need, the products.
So let me ask, so everyone listening understands, Sean he's not an MD. He's not I am not a doctor. I'm not preaching anything as a doctor. So I just want to make sure, so in case you didn't get a chance to say it.
For sure. No, thank you.
Sean isn't telling anyone how, prescribe anything. These are just,
I'm giving recommendations based on what you relay to me.
Sure. So based on that, though, I just wanted to make sure that no one thought you were prescribing. When you guys are saying, hey, somebody's like, I have IBS or whatever it is, are you treating I'll use the word treating in this context.
That's fine. Yeah.
what's actually like, does IBS go away, or they somehow just sort of, or let's take back pain, different thing, or like a neural pain or something like that. Does it actually help with like a inflammation, where like you're actually treating the cause of something, or is it just sort of the recreational effects of it just sort of make it bearable?
Yeah.
Or both?
So 100%, there will be studies that say it's curing certain things. For the most part, what I see is, that's why when I talk about IBS or Crohn's, I use it helps mitigate symptoms. So kind of like, and this might be a horrible comparison, but kind of like nicotine. You have nicotinic receptors in your body. It's throughout your entire body, so that you can sit there and you can say, hey, if I'm smoking a cigarette and I'm trying to retain something or write down, that's why you see a lot of people in college with, whether they're dipping or smoking cigs, stuff like that. It does help memory. It helps a lot now it's also going to kill you at the same time.
Yeah.
So I like to refer to that as different. Now it's going to kill you not because of the nicotine, but because of all the carcinogenics and everything that's going to go along with it. Along with smoke, like I tell everybody, just like we were talking about earlier, you eat 10,000 bananas a day, you're going to have potassium overload, you're not going to be feeling too good. If you ate 1,000 gummies a day, you can't OD on cannabis, but you're not going to feel well. I mean, they call it greening out if you eat too much.
And so I've, like we talked earlier, I went to college and drank my fair share of beers and so forth, but never was, smoked pot or anything like that. So if somebody just ate like an insane amount of gummies, like what are they looking at? Like, is that like a throw up situation, or is that?
It can be, yeah. Especially if you're eating gummies. I mean, even people who have smoked, they've got different ways of consuming. You have concentrate, you have a plethora of stuff. Some things that are not going to mean anything to you, but basically it would be like the difference between drinking a beer, drinking a whiskey, and then you're drinking moonshine, which is super concentrated.
Yeah. Okay. The density.
So that's how you can play off. We go off of percentages. You're allowed to stay in a certain allotment of that percentage based on different factors. But like, let's say you were going to eat a ton of gummies and you got way too high, you would feel kind of this. I mean, when I've done it, and it's not fun. And I have this conversation with a lot of people.
Like, I want out.
For sure. Like, and there's things like that where you kind of just got to ride it out, but one thing that we can help to do that is we have, especially in our gummies, we have something called, it's a homogenized process.
Okay.
So all the distillate or the rosin or whatever we're using to put in the gummies is evenly distributed throughout the gummy itself. So this is not only going to allow these customers to microdose our products, but it's allow them, if they want to buy bigger bang for their buck, they can cut these in half, and it's not like your buddy gives you a cookie and you only get one. One guy gets 100 milligrams and one guy gets nothing.
So it's like you guys are making sure the same number of chocolate chips are in each
100%.
cookie. Am I with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so you could buy like a loaf of gummy and like slice off a piece, and it's going to have the same,
based on the dosage,
within a tolerance of whatever you guys
for
are
sure,
targeting.
a small percentage. Yep.
Okay, so that's probably not a standardized process.
I mean, it should be.
Smokiez does it, but is that something that is standard in the industry, that someone's going to have something homogenized, or like you just got a really bad end of the loaf and this guy's got soaring?
At this point, it should be standard for most companies. Now, I can't talk to anybody else's process. Sure. I don't dive too deep into everyone else's stuff, but like we have some competitors who I would totally, if I was in a store and they didn't have any of our stuff, my job is to get the customer right. So I can point them in another direction. I'm not going to give them a whole spiel on that product, even though I might be able to, because I want them to come back and buy mine.
Sure.
But they know, hey, I'm going to give you all the information on ours. This is going to do very similar. Might not be as good as Smokiez, but it's going to get you where you need to be.
It's going to get you through the night.
It's going to get you through the night.
Or whatever
the
ails
concert,
you.
The night, if you're just trying to have a day, there's
the sobriety's ailing me.
Yeah, well, by the end of this... By the end of this, we'll see what happens. I already know the answer, but I'll press you for it anyway.
Well, I might. Well, to that end, so with pot and cannabis, and we have dispensaries, and I'm pretty late on all this stuff. But so tell me, what is a dispensary?
Yeah, so it's basically a building. You need a certain license to be able to, since it is federally regulated, you need a license to be able to open a certain dispensary. There's only so many licenses that go about in certain states. So a dispensary is basically a license holder. They've got this dispensary. They're going to be selling. Well, we have two different things. We have vertical companies, and then we have kind of almost, I call them like a third-party company, but people who take everything and people who actually grow their own products. And they are able to they have a kitchen where they have a whole grow room. They have a certain square footage of plants that they're harvesting based on harvest days. And then they're taking that and they might be making their own edibles with that flower. They're making their own pre-rolls. They're selling eighths. They're doing stuff like that. They will carry guys as well, like us. We'll come in and
just to fill their shop out.
100%. Yeah. And we have a pretty loyal customer base, so I like to be able to provide our customers with that product. And if they go into a store that only sells their product, they probably have an amazing product, but that customer wants a little Smokiez, so we're able to provide for them. And then you got people who just carry everyone. So you walk into a dispensary.
So is a dispensary like a license to sell to the public?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so it's kind of like a beer distributor. It's a retail, though. It's a retail location.
It is. So if you were to walk into, and I'm going to make some horrible comparisons throughout this, but if you were to walk into like, what's that crazy one they used to always advertise with Big Chicken? The liquor store.
Dirt Cheap.
Yeah. You walk into Dirt Cheap. If Dirt Cheap has their own specific brand that they are distilling their beer, doing whatever, and they're selling it at Dirt Cheap, they'd be a vertical company. They're going to sell everybody else too. They're going to sell Busch Light. They're going to sell Natty. They're going to sell, maybe they have a craft beer maybe they're selling Four Hands. Yeah. The Four Hands, if Four Hands was a franchise and was like all around the country, it would be like Smokiez. You're selling it in there.
I understand. And so you guys are that vertically integrated where you're going from like putting seeds in the ground kind of thing?
We are not.
Okay.
So we're a third party. So we partner with different companies in different states, and then we call it biomass, but we use the plants and the leftover stuff to be able to put into the gummies.
Understood.
So they'll sell that. We'll buy oil from these companies because they'll have a surplus of it.
So you're buying like semi-finished products. Or, ingredients to it.
Ingredients, 100%. I would put it more as an ingredient.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. See, I'm getting with it now.
I got you.
It's coming together.
I got you here.
Okay, so tell me, so your job, you're in sales at Smokiez. And so tell me what types of, are you selling to people? Are you like an outside sales guy out meeting? Are you at a shop? Are you, what's your day?
It's pretty crazy. It's everything. So it's day to day. I do some of the sales. I do some of the marketing. I do a lot of the brand ambassador stuff as well. We just hired a new guy. His name's Will. He's phenomenal. But my day to day, we have office days where it's just back to back to back meetings. We're talking to dispensaries. We're setting up promotions. We're trying to push new products, get people different. Maybe we have something new that came out. We're trying to feed it into them. So on a Tuesday, it's basically just meetings. Down the line, whether it's meetings with my VP or my director who also lives here, that is a work from home. So I'm on the computer, I'm making calls, trying to get a vibe of what we're going. I'm setting up meetings, I'm setting up pop-ups, and then the rest of the week, I'm on the road. Tomorrow I'm going to Jeff City to we do things called pop-ups, or I'll spend a couple hours in a store. We'll run a promotion, customers come in. It's like the wine guy that you see at Schnucks that's kind of pushing wine.
Yeah.
It's a little more fun because you're in a dispensary. People are coming for bud. So it's not like they're buying eggs and you're trying to push wine onto them. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to be able to highlight some of that.
So you're basically setting up in someone else's dispensary?
Yeah.
Okay. And you've got your menu of things there. And
I got all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I got a table. I've got a list of all the products. One thing that we do that's really cool that sets us apart is we have individually, and I should have brought them today because you could have eaten them. We have individually wrapped candies. They're non-medicated, so they have nothing in them. It's literally just the gummy, what it tastes, the texture. So we were a candy company for 90 years before we started making edibles. So that was kind of we make a damn good candy.
That's the piece
let's get
there.
Some gummies.
Because that's the other question is, gummies, there are good ones and bad ones.
100%.
Set the pot to the side.
Yeah.
I've had a bad gummy bear before.
Yeah.
And I've had really good ones.
It's the worst.
What's the gummy bear? What's the name of it?
The Hasbro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fucking around.
Yeah, they're gangster.
They're really good. And do people can that be used in this process? Like if you're not as sophisticated as Smokiez, are there people who can kind of retool a normal gummy bear and make, or is that just impossible?
You could. They've got a couple brands out right now that resemble some candies that you might see out and about. Mm-hmm. But there was actually Missouri. This brings up a good point. We had a packaging law change. So we're always jumping through hoops, different stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, they don't want anything advertised to children. I'm for it. I don't think kids should be advertised for children too. But also, it's kind of on the parents. Put your stuff away. Don't leave out this nice looking 1,000 milligram gummy for your kid to enjoy on the kitchen table. So they had a packaging law where they basically said all fruits, foods, things like that. There was a brand that had some very similar, man, they were awesome. It was a Red Hot Riplets. Mm-hmm. And each chip was like 5 milligrams. So you can't do anything like that anymore. So technically somebody couldn't take, like, if it looked like a Hasbro gummy bear, they wouldn't be able to use that mold. It would just be a little hitting too close to home for them.
Yeah, that makes sense, that you shouldn't be able to mistake one for the other, per se.
You shouldn't, 100%.
And yeah, but to your point, there is some onus on parents to keep their shit together.
I think there's some other things that we could relate to that. That would be the same deal. Advertising towards children. But yeah, I mean, it's all labeled. It's got says marijuana all the way down the side. Each gummy is stamped with a THC logo. We even changed. I
was wondering if I were to look at one. I mean, I don't know what every gummy bear in the world looks like. So. Yeah. So are they somehow embossed, or are there something?
Yeah, so ours are about the size of a big quarter. Mm-hmm. They have a stamp in each one. It'll be a triangle, and it'll have THC written on the top.
Okay, and is that mandated, or is that just something you guys have decided to do?
We've decided to do it with our gummy. Now, the packaging is mandated, but there's some gummies where they're not stamped, but the packaging is lit up. We do it. So actually, we do a whole CBD, CBG, CBN line, which may not mean much to you. You might have heard of CBD before.
I've heard of that.
Most people have heard of CBD, but these are cannabinoids. It's just another part of the plant. If you were to intake CBD on its own, you have CBD flower too. It wouldn't give you the psychoactive high that you would get from hitting a doobie.
Right.
But it's going to have holistic factors. I'm a big fan of CBD, CBG. CBG is the big one that we were talking about, IBS and Crohn's. CBN is the most sedative cannabinoid, so we use that for sleep. People who take that, you won't get high. It's not like melatonin, but like similar in the fact where if you take melatonin, you wouldn't be seeing Jesus,
Right, yeah.
So we're able to filter all those different things in. But where I was going with that is the CBD is going to be square, as the THC gummies, even if it has CBD and THC, will always be circles. So then you have another way to differentiate that.
That makes
sense. So you
sense.
don't mess up. You're eating a CBD going into a work meeting. You're not eating a 1,000 milligram gummy.
Well, it's helpful. I mean, if you know how all of that works, and if you had a gummy bear, you were intending to eat a regular gummy bear and it had these weird stamps in it, you probably wouldn't have to know what that means. You'd be like, this probably isn't.
There's something going on with that.
Maybe something going on.
For sure.
So switching gears. So that's where you are today. And that's real. I could probably talk to you that for like a really long time. But
yes, sir.
But that's kind of where we are. So let's peel it back a little bit about how we got here to, and you said it kind of fell in your lap, but let's take you back. You mentioned earlier and kind of pull you through this story to where we got to today, which is you start – you've got high school, you've got Boy Scouts, NOLS, you're living off grid, Chile. Just kind of take me through these interesting gates that you've been going through over time.
Yeah, I've been blessed to have a father who was really hardcore on outdoors. We grew up hunting, stuff like that. But I grew up in St. Louis, so I'm also from here. I grew up in Webster Groves. I went to Webster Groves High School. Mm-hmm. During that time, my dad got me involved with the Boy Scouts, grew up camping with him. That was kind of the next lane. He did Boy Scouts. He was an Eagle Scout. He wanted me to be involved. I have a younger brother as well. He was in it for a little bit. He didn't like it. He got out. He hit high school. He was done. But I wanted to stick it through. So that was about 7 years of my life with the Scouts before we got out of there. And Scouts was great. It was kind of where I think is the cornerstone of my love for the outdoors. Mm-hmm. They teach you how to camp, and you go to summer camp and you do your merit badges. And I know some people give Scouts a bad rep for weird reasons that I never ran into.
I don't think it's a bad rap. I think some people are like, that's just kind of weird, but I'm not
sure.
I don't fall in that camp. I totally get it.
Yeah.
And but maybe because I like doing that sort of stuff. But I think that it was more like people who don't do it literally don't get it.
I would have to agree with you on that.
They think it's just like the get along gang, and you're not doing anything interesting, and you're But it's not that.
No, not at all. And if anything, I was blessed that the troop I was in Troop 21, which
legendary 21.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it was legendary, all right. And we had some really good guys. It was based out of Clayton. But we had some other doctors and we had people supporting the troop where we had a little money and we were able to we went to Costa Rica. We would go to Colorado. Really? We would go, people did Philmont. I didn't do Philmont. I got my Philmont's worth in Chile.
I don't know what
that
Philmont
we'll talk
is. What is that?
They go backpacking pretty much. It's like a hardcore few weeks. I never did it, so I can't touch too much on it. But it was like the crescendo of your Boy Scout. But before getting an Eagle, it's you go to Philmont, you put all your skills to the test kind of deal.
Okay, yeah.
Phenomenal. Everybody who did Philmont, awesome. Kind of wish I would have done it.
Where is that?
I don't even remember.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere hardcore. They're hiking around.
I get it.
But yeah, so 7 years of my life, and I'll tell you what, it's really funny. So in the Boy Scouts, to get your Eagle Scout, you cannot get it after you turn 18. Hard stop. It doesn't matter if it's 30 seconds after your birthday, you're done. Yeah, you're done. So going into high school, some people get it earlier. Me, I went into high school, started playing lacrosse, had a girlfriend, I didn't want to put on the Boy Scout outfit and go and do all this stuff.
You went to the dark side.
I did. I sure did. And got in, had new friends, and we were having a blast. But I had two good buddies who to this day are also Eagle Scouts, and we kind of formed that bond and were able to finish off. And I actually got my Eagle Scout signed off, my board of review. You can get the badge after, but you have to get your board of review done beforehand. I got it the day before I turned 18. And he was going through the folder. I was at this guy's house, and I was like, he's looking, you have to have a certain number of merit badges. You have to have all your credentials in line. And he goes, dude, I can't find your first aid merit badge. I was like, I definitely,
you're like,
100%.
We're not doing this right now, are we?
Exactly. I said, give me that folder. I went through it. I pulled it out. I gave him a little wink, and he signed me off, and we were good to go. But I was low-key like, man, you almost kind of screwed me with this.
Yeah.
But I did end up finishing with the Scouts, and I've never looked back. And it's really, I'll tell you what, anybody who talks trash on the Boy Scouts, you put that Eagle Scout on a resume or a college, trying to get into school.
It still means something.
People, I got Obama's signature on my card, so it's and it's kind of a fun fact. It's like 1% of the Scouts make it to the Eagle Scout, and then it's the only civilian medal that you can wear on a military uniform. I'm not military by any means. I don't claim that. I love all our troops and soldiers, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's cool because it's such a good. I don't know. I guess it's an institution to a degree that that is just still here and still people. I don't know why it still carries weight with it because there's so much cool stuff now. Like when that started, there weren't a lot of things like that, but it 100%. Still is. Maybe it's because somebody stuck with something until they're 18, and you're just kind of like that. They had to do some shit to make that happen.
It's kind of the idea behind it. Also, you get the opportunity if you weren't, I played sports, but if you weren't a sports person, now you have this sense of bonding with similar, and not just a team, but like-minded men or young men, like-minded young men individuals, and you have these responsibilities of like, you have to hold a position of leadership, whether you're a senior, whether you're in charge of these 10-year-olds or 13-year-olds, 15, they're crazy, whatever. You're 17, 18.
Yeah.
But it gave you the opportunity to test out leadership skills and build camaraderie with your buddies. And I think that's huge. And to do it in the woods where you're building fires and making knives and doing stuff like that.
It's cool that they make it. I mean, I get why it hard stop at 18. You do need sort of like, hey, you can't be rounding this out when you're 45. But
yeah.
But it does keep you on pace. Like
that's the goal.
It gets you through it. So pulling us back to kind of the main thread here is so your high school, you get your you become an Eagle Scout on the 1 yard line,
yes,
right? It nearly was a bust, but we made it. And so take me from there.
Yeah. So after that, the next step is we got to start applying to colleges. At the time, at the time, all my buddies were going to Mizzou or going to Ole Miss or going to Arkansas. And for some reason, I was like, I don't want to go to Mizzou. I'm too good for it. I had this weird, I wanted to go away. Like I'd been home for forever. I just wanted to go away.
That's all right.
So my cousin was going to the College of Charleston in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, he was talking it up to me one night on a Thanksgiving, and I just was like, I want to go there. And we went and visited, and it was beautiful, and they got the moss, and he was on the boat, and just all kinds of fun stuff going on there. He was a marine biologist, so he was a big fisherman. And
yeah.
I saw the pictures. I'm like, dude, I want to do that. So I applied. I did not get in.
Yeah.
It was the only place I applied to. Big mistake. Anyone out there listening that
get your plan B
knows, yeah, figure it out.
Uh-huh.
So after that, I was very upset about that. I was just like, man, I'm gonna go to STLCC or UMSL or something, which I ended up going to UMSL for a little bit. Phenomenal schools, but I found this NOLS program as just kind of on a whim.
What's NOLS?
So NOLS stands for...
Yeah, what's it stand for?
It stands for National Outdoor Leadership School. They are accredited around the world. You can get college credit. It's the only way I got my dad to pay for it, to get me to go to school.
Yeah.
It's through the University of Utah. They have courses in New Zealand. They have courses in Nepal. They have courses across the globe. And basically the gist of what NOLS is...
Yeah. Well, let's jump into that in a second. Because so College of Charleston didn't work out. They didn't know, the admissions office was, they didn't know what they're doing, and they didn't let you in. And so you were like, okay, plan B. And so you find out, how'd you find out about NOLS? Is this something you'd already known about?
I had heard about it in the past from an older buddy who was in the Scouts who had gone off and done this.
Okay.
And he had ended up becoming a guide for a company that I can't remember, somewhere in Colorado. I think he did river rafting or something like that.
So this is already Boy Scouts paying you back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Not literally, not in dollars, but they paid us back for sure.
No, meaning like just the network that that you created over time is already helping you create a future.
For sure. And
cool.
And networking is huge, and we're blessed to be in St. Louis where everyone's very tight knit. Don't burn any bridges. They're gonna remember you.
Yes, they will.
But yeah, this guy, I met him in the Scouts. He went off, he did this, and I had seen some pictures, and I did a little research and said, man, that's something that I can see myself doing. Now I got to literally pitch it to my father to get him to pay pretty much a semester of college.
First sales job?
Send me away. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so yeah, it took a little talking to, but he's an outdoorsman and he loves it. And he saw the benefit with the credits. Had
he heard of it?
He had not heard of it before. So we had to go through the site and bring it up. I almost just called my buddy and was going to say, hey, dude, my dad's going to call you. I don't know what you got to say to him, but you need to lay it all out in the best way. Yeah, don't tell him you're out there smoking pot on a mountain for 6 months,
Yeah, that's not what he wants to hear.
Which is cool because we were sober the whole entire time. It was kind of a strict part of it, which I loved. It was beautiful. But so convinced him to send me up, and that set me up to get ready to take off on an adventure that I'd never prepared for.
So let's jump in to and for anyone that's listening, I conflated NOLS and Outward Bound in my head because I hadn't gone to either of them.
Mm-hmm.
But in those years, which are starting to be many years ago, like 30 years, 25 years, I had people I knew that either went to NOLS or they went to Outward Bound. And I was sort of conflating those in my head because there's, on one hand, there are some similarities in that they are outdoors.
Yes.
And they are ultimately probably trying to teach relatively similar things. But one might find themselves at one program for very different reasons. So I just want to make that clear that if anyone's listening, Outward Bound and NOLS they're not related, correct?
They are not related.
Okay, all right. So anyway, so you get your dad to sign off on this, and was it with a smile, or he was like, "Fuck, we'll give it a whirl," kind of thing?
He's an outdoorsman.
Okay,
it was with a smile.
He got it.
I was very lucky. My dad's always been very supportive of me and my siblings and what we want to do, and he saw the benefit of it just as much as I did. So we were able to. Now my mom took a little convincing too. She had to. There was part of it where you had to sign a waiver saying if anything happens to your son, like we're not, to an extent, we're not. Yeah. It's not our fault. We're going into some crazy spots where you need a GPS phone and you might not hear from him for a month, and you're just gonna have to be okay with that. And she's like, firstborn child disappearing for a month in the mountains of Chile? I don't know about this one.
Probably good for all parties involved. I mean, it kind of helps as a parent myself. I think sort of an abrupt thing like that would help sort of like when you think about your kids going to college or wherever they go. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, that's going to take a minute to adjust, so it's kind of had this forced adjustment. But
for sure.
So anyway, you get signed off on, you get your mom, your dad come around on this. And it sounds like there are all these different locations where you can go spend this time. And so is that a selection you make, or is that an appointment they make?
No, you definitely get to choose it. And I chose this one because it was the longest. It was the longest one they had and the most extensive. It covered everything. So
okay, and what'd you choose?
It's called the Patagonia year semester. They call it a year semester. It's over the base of a year, split up into 2 semesters. You do get a holiday break. I came back home for a week for Christmas, which was surreal. Everybody came back from college. I'm coming back from the woods. But yeah, you can pick, like one was 3 weeks in New Zealand or a month in Panama or wherever. Just the sailing that you brought up earlier before we started. And there were a few guys that had done a couple other NOLS courses, so they kind of knew what they were getting into. What was interesting is the age limit. You had to be 18, but it was all the way up to like 26, 27. Mm-hmm. So I went in at 19. Just
let's do this.
I'd been blessed. I've been out of the country a few times, so I wasn't too worried about that. But yeah, no. Convincing my dad and my mom was the first struggle.
So let's drill down for a second. So it's the Patagonia year,
yes, sir.
Basically. So tell us, where is Patagonia? And then I want to zoom in even further after that. But where is Patagonia? And when you arrived there, what are initial thoughts on your decision?
Yeah, so it's actually funny you asked that because that's where my mind kind of went. I got on a plane and took off. I was sitting in the airport. I flew into, I believe it was Miami. Take Miami. Miami's that big U. Mm-hmm. It was a nightmare of an airport. And I'd never been in an airport like that. I thought I was going to Argentina. Mm-hmm. I had no idea I was going to Chile. I didn't know. Because Patagonia, technically part of Argentina and part of Chile. The southern region of South America. It's going to be the southern part of the Andes Mountains. They call it the
It's like
region.
Tahoe. A little bit in California, a little bit in Nevada.
Exactly, 100%. Okay. Beautiful place. But I get off the plane and we landed in I'm trying to remember the town. It was Santiago in Chile, and then Santiago in
Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina, and then you fly to Coyhaique, which is the small rural town down in
I'm kind of playing Patagonia. When you land down there.
The first one was really big, really nice. The second one was just, I don't know, planes, smaller plane, not like wearing earplugs kind of deal, but I have no idea what type of plane. Smaller than like a commercial airline.
But what was bigger, like a Cessna?
Yes, 100%. Okay. Yeah, there were like 30 people on the plane for sure, 30, 40. But yeah, I landed and I just immediately realized that I should have listened more in Spanish class because I had my little dictionary and that was it. Yeah, so
you had like photos in one hand and your dictionary in the other.
Like a lot of hand movements, a lot of like comer, el baño.
So you're like looking out the window and being as you're coming in, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Or are you like, yes, let's go?
I was very excited, but I also, and this happened multiple times throughout my time there, of us just looking at each other like, we're fucking paying for this? Like, this is gnarly, dude. And so
this is like the best racket going.
Exactly. Yeah, they've just
drop you in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing all kinds of stuff. It's like, okay, we'll figure it out, I guess. But no, we landed and immediately
can point. Quick timeout. Did you know, like the program? Like, are they just like, hey, you're going to Chile? Did they say like you'll be month 1 we're doing this, month 2?
Yes.
Or did you get on the ground and like grab those sacks of grain, we're going up the fucking mountain?
No, that might be more Outward Bound.
Okay.
They gave us a whole list of stuff. Also, if I make jokes about Outward Bound, Outward Bound's phenomenal. It's internal. It's a great group.
Yeah, it's probably internal joking.
Amongst the NOLers. The two of them, they probably say stuff too. But Yeah, so they plan it all out. So they say you're going to be doing mountaineering, you're going to be doing sea kayaking, you're doing rock climbing, you have a cultural section, you have a give back section. We like build porta potties and stuff like that. So they lay it all out for you. You have an extensive gear list, which added on some extra money that they were like, oh my God, this is really racking up. And it was funny. I went and bought all of it from the Alpine Shop in Kirkwood. There's a little plug for Alpine Shop. Great place. I ended up working for them a few years after. I'm like, damn, I could have really used that discount a few years ago.
Yeah, you could have.
Bought a ton of gear. But the gear's really nice. It lasted forever. So anyway, we had bags. We had everything. So you can spot the kids going to NOLS in the airport because they're
got
decked
all their
out.
shit.
They look like they're American. You know.
Once you're in Chile, you're like,
I found one guy who had a big old Osprey backpack on, and I was like, you gotta be a NOLS guy. Yeah. And his name was Tommy. He was from Montana. Still talk to the guy today. He lives in Chicago now.
That's fabulous.
Amazing dude. I'm connected to a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But and he goes, a few of the fellas are down here. We're waiting on our last flight to get us into Coyhaique. And they're all drinking beer, and most of them were 19 to 21.
Good.
We had two guys that were 26 and 27. So
and this was like their 10th trip.
They're coming on 30, and they're convincing their parents still to go on the. Most of those guys had paid for it themselves. One other guy had done something in New Zealand. I think it was the sailing, and he loved it, and he was preaching about it the whole time. He didn't even know what he was getting into.
He didn't.
It
wasn't sailing.
No. It was not sailing, I'll tell you that.
It wasn't the main sheet.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
So you guys are laying it on the ground there, and you guys are circling up people, and sort of, not day by day, but give us the gist of kind of what is NOLS about. I mean, it's more than just, hey, we're going to go hang out in the woods or on a sailboat. There's a curriculum there of what they're trying to impart upon the people who go there. There's
literally a curriculum. Throughout your time there, they are teaching you not only leadership skills, but they're teaching you, we had a biology class. We're learning about local flora and animals and bugs and fish and stuff like that. So they give you different courses, which are filling into that curriculum so you can get those credits through the University of Utah. That would then transfer over, and that was my plug to my dad. But the main goal of it is to train you to not only be confident in a wilderness situation, but to also develop leadership skills that you can take back into the real world. So that comes with team building. That comes with like forming, norming, and build how to work with a team. You're not always going to get along, how to mitigate some of those issues you might have. And then on top of that, we do wilderness rescue, how to help someone if they're in a dire situation. We're not EMTs, but if someone breaks their leg, you can do your best. Kill. Yeah. You get the big rock, and
exactly.
You do your best to get them out of there. And then on top of that, of course, the main goal is to develop, like I said, confidence in the backcountry, not just like, pull up a car and drop it down in Glacier Basin in Colorado and have a good time. But like, hey, you got to go out, set up your tent, know how to cook, know how to plan for that, know how to read a map, know how to orient a map, blah, blah, blah. I mean, a plethora of different outdoor skills. But they base it around leadership, We would have different days where you were in charge and the instructor was there, but they didn't say a word. And if you fucked up, you got to figure it out. And we paid for it a couple times. But those are some of the moments that I really took from that, being like, shit, they didn't just tell you to be a leader. They forced you into either sink or swim.
When you got your team staring at you.
Yeah. They're like,
where to?
What do we do? Go to that mountain over there. Ow. Yeah. I'm lost,
That way-ish.
People get upset, and you got to work. How do you communicate with someone who is pissed off, and how do you bring everyone down to a lower tempo and not be like, motherfucker, you took us the wrong way, and how to also take accountability for the mistakes that you make. I think that's a really big one that myself needed to learn, and a few of these other guys needed to learn. Yeah, so there was
that's we all at one time or another, that's something I think everybody who I think has anything more than kind of baseline ambition to do things has also an Achilles of wanting to be right to a degree.
Yeah,
and whether we're 5 or we're 25, at some point you're you got to be like, well, I guess I can be wrong. Fuck.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's that. So
it's
I'm going to do what I can to deal with that.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the high notes there, which is I'm interested in knowing, what is Chile like where you guys were? What did you miss about the United States? Like after like several months, there are things, not just like, the comfort of a bedroom or whatever, but what was like, I remember the times I've been abroad, when I got home to the United States, I was like, I really like it here.
Yeah.
I like it here, and I remember thinking to myself, I don't care how much you're paying taxes. It's so comfortable just in this entire country, it's comfortable.
There's a reason we pay for certain things. I mean,
Yeah.
America's a beautiful place. I would never really want to live. I would live other places, but like I would always come back here. I would say for one, it was pretty hard to speak Spanish to some of these people. Luckily, everyone that was with us, they're all English speakers. I didn't learn a ton of Spanish when I was there. You're around English speaking people the whole time. But when you were on your own, we had days where we would just live in the town, and that was one thing. The next thing I was going to say is the food. They had a phenomenal food, but like you can't walk down the street and just get whatever. I can't go to Mom's Deli. Shout out Mom's Deli, the reopening. But it's just the convenience of things, especially when you're in the backcountry. The convenience of walking to the sink and filling up your water instead of pinpointing a river on a map, putting iodine tablets for 30 minutes to wait for it to,
clear up,
get sanitized, and then only drinking half of it because you got to use the other half for cooking or whatever, shower, whatever. It's just basic stuff. I mean, being in the mountains, I remember coming back down and it was all snow and just being like, oh, thank God there's grass. I don't got to dig a hole in the ground throughout 3 feet of snow just to take a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, using toilet paper, like one of the big things, just to go back for 1 second on one of the things that they really touch on, they have something called LNT, which is leave no trace. And that you can get a master's certificate in that, but that's pretty much like, don't build a fire on the ground because it's going to leave a carbon footprint for a certain amount of time. Pack out everything that you pack in. If you're going to take a dump in the woods, you got to dig a hole. You got to be a certain amount of feet away from the campsite, certain amount of feet from any kind of water. You got to put it a certain amount of feet down, et cetera, et cetera.
It sounds like they all got together and they were like, cleaning up these woods is getting expensive. What if we certified people?
For sure. 100%.
Side up for us.
And honestly, it's funny, but like that's kind of what they do. I mean, they were like, we got to make sure these guys are dialed in because they love the environment,
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful landscape. They call it the land of fire and ice because one day we always joked, we're like, oh man, Patagonia is coming to fuck us again. It could be sunny, and then it's a monsoon, and then it's snowing, and then you're getting blown over. You got 50-pound packs on, and you're getting tossed by the wind.
So was that all in all a pretty safe existence, or you guys have some scrapes that occurred?
It was definitely not. It was safe because our instructors were badass and were able to take care of us. But I mean, there were times where it was sketchy. I mean,
meaning your environment or your environment. What you were doing.
Well.
I mean,
you
like
put it
on
that way, both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, are you talking about, are you like hanging off the side of a cliff, type of safety stuff, or are you down in town? Or
well, both actually. That you bring that up. So town, I'll tell a real quick story. We get into town, and you have 2 days where you hang out in town. You meet your people. We stayed in a hostel. You got to be on this bus to start the trip. If you're not there, it's a leadership school. Fuck you. I mean, you either got to show up the next day on your own way. Yeah, they're not coming. There's no Uber. They're not coming down to get you.
Yeah.
So I actually went out the night before. I wasn't getting fucked up or anything like that, but I had late dinner. Came back to my hostel. My buddies walked me back. I mean, this town is small. Like this is very hard to get to. You are way down south, and it wasn't even developed until like the 20th century. So it can be a sketchy town. I mean, it's not third world, but it's pretty damn close. And so I got locked out, so I went and slept with my buddy. Next morning, I woke up. I said, I got to get all my shit. I got to run back. I got to gather all this stuff and be on that bus because I am not getting left behind. The door's locked. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm in this random country. I had to find my way. I had to find my way through this town at 2 a.m. trying to get there. Really? Couldn't get out. Finally, and I'll say that I broke into the hostel because
they've been looking for you.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't found me yet. I've stayed here in the U.S., but I broke into this hostel. I finally figured my way in and got all this stuff, and I ended up leaving. And the lady was actually super cool. She came down. She was speaking to me in Spanish. I hope she was cool. I didn't know what she was saying. And ran out the door, made it to the thing. But I remember walking through these streets with all this $1,000 worth of gear. And I'm like, man, I stick out like a sore thumb. And it's like neon and green. And there's no one around. And it was sketchy.
No one was wearing Patagonia in Patagonia?
They definitely wore some Patagonia. But I mean, it's a different world over there. They don't have some of the same stuff that we have. So the town is pretty well.
Do they care to have it? Meaning, like, there's what we have is part of our culture. Being like, they probably see us walking down the street with all this sort of like Western gear. They're like, I don't need half that shit.
I think that they do. I'm sure there's certain people who don't. I mean, we'd sit down to dinner, and after coming back, I'm like, I don't want the gringo menu, okay? I don't want a $30 hamburger that's actually lamb. Like, just give me the lamb and rice and bean. Just give me what you got. And they'd laugh. You figure it out. Generally, I think that people are very happy for us to be there. They have shops and all kinds of stuff. And the people in Chile are super, super nice. You're going to get bad people all over, everywhere you go. Here in St. Louis, I mean, you walk down the street at a certain time of night, like, you're kind of asking for it. And I was asking for it that day with all this shit on me.
Yeah, you felt that way that time?
I felt a little exposed for sure. And it's an unfamiliar environment. So, but yeah, I got on the bus and I was fine. So I made it through. But there was an incident the year after where, like, they told us, don't walk around late at night with a big camera around your neck or like a really nice, don't bring your laptop, or my buddy had fishing rods.
Just from a value standpoint?
Just from, don't walk around waving $100 bills at people who don't have the same stuff, There was a kid who got held up and he tried to fight it and he actually got stabbed. It was a pretty insane story. He lived, and the only reason he lived is they had just done their wilderness first responder and they gauzed him up and saved the guy's life. If that's not a testament to the school, I mean, there you go. But
maybe they need to. Is there a fighting class?
There we go. Now
put in there.
Now we're talking 100%.
Prevention.
Yeah. Here's what you do when they come running at you. But
just give them your fucking camera.
That's what I would do.
How about
that? Take it. I'm tossing it over there and running the other direction. I'm not losing my life over anything like that.
I'd be like, let's talk film. What are you going to do in that full? I mean, you can take it, but let's just get realistic.
You want to take my number? Should I be sending you? Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck you do with this in 3 days when all the memory or whatever?
They're not going to do
film's
nothing.
Gone.
They're just going to sell it and make a quick $1.
Yeah. So, other things that occurred there. I mean, you were there for a long time.
Yeah, about 6 months, 6-7 months.
And so, were you guys, I'm just have this vision in my head of you guys are just sort of backpacking around and finding different, I mean, it's a curriculum, they're moving you probably through. Mm-hmm. Are you guys pretty much around one place the whole time?
No, I wrote down a couple things on here because, of course, I don't remember, but it was like 2 weeks at a time. I mean, we did miles every day. I mean, it's a stretch. I kind of wish I had a map to show you. I'll email it to you just so you can look it over.
I'm interested to know,
But, no, you start off in this, they call it a campo.
I'm sure we can put a map like right here in the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know. I was thinking like Joe Rogan, like we can pull, we got Rachel. That's the Jamie of the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, no, they have a campo where you start off. It's where they have all your food. They teach you how to ration everything to be able to pack out, teach you how to pack your bag the right way, teach you how to cut toothbrushes in half because weight is such a big deal. They were telling my buddy not to bring his fishing rod. He's like, motherfucker, I'm fishing. There's salmon out here. Like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my fish. I will take the extra weight. And God, that's
when he broke the news. This is a fishing trip to him.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we all ate salmon for about a week, and nobody else did. So he was a good guy to be friends with.
Skills.
But no, we start off there, and then what they do from there, that's kind of like base camp. Mm-hmm. Then they put you on this bus, and most of the roads out there are gravel roads. You get some paved streets, but they drive you to a drop-off point. They let you out, and they say, all right. And you pretty much hike all the way. You go south the whole time.
When you say they, are you talking about like the bus driver or the
NOLS,
program?
The program, yeah. The bus driver, too. He was like a legend. I think his name was Luciano or something.
So
like
he
that.
works?
He works for NOLS.
Okay.
They're all employed. Most of them come from the town. They employ people from the town of Coyhaique and around in Chile. So a lot of your guides and helpers are Chilean.
Got it.
Now you have two lots of other outdoors experts that come in and work for NOLS. They're based out of Wyoming, so a lot of them are from Wyoming, Montana, just very outdoorsy, badass people.
So this guy just pulls up to, they call it a stop, but there's probably not much there.
There wasn't much there. There was a stream.
Outside is out there.
Yeah, and they said, okay, get out. And the first thing they did is they had us go through this like stream up to our knees, which is crazy for me because in the Boy Scouts, it's like never get your shoes wet.
Yeah, never get them wet.
Here, they said you're going to be wet. Your boots are going to be wet pretty much the whole time. And I'm like, okay, well, this is already new. So we immediately, not even 5 minutes after getting left off the bus, we're soaking wet.
Is it cold?
Yeah, it's fucking cold. They got glaciers
Cold
up
feet
there. So
and wet. I mean, like if you're walking in like runoff,
sucks.
it's really bad.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Been there. That's fun.
But they teach you like how to keep your feet warm and dry your socks at night, and look out for athlete's foot and stuff like that. Cut your toes so you don't get toenails, so you don't get ingrown toenails while you're out there because you're hiking so much.
What kind of boots were you wearing?
I had a Solos. They were really nice. And I'll say one little thing about them because they all gave me a lot of crap. We used to, because our boots were wet and then it would get cold at night, sometimes they'd freeze. So we'd put them by the fire, warm up your socks and your boots and everything.
Yeah. Whose boots caught on fire?
Mine.
Yours
caught on
did?
fire. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
about 2 weeks into the trip, we hadn't even gotten to the hard stuff yet. And my buddies thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the whole world. I'm like, guys, this is a problem.
We're kind of fucked here.
Where am I going to get new boots? Yeah, you're screwed. I'm like, the worst thing that could have happened. I've got a picture of my buddy. Because they shrunk. So he was like, well, I'll just cut out a side so at least your foot can come out. I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. Should have talked to, I'm 19. I don't fucking know. We're just hanging out. This guy's from Texas, Jackson. Great guy. But he sliced my boots up. So he's not a
cobbler.
No, he's not a shoemaker.
Yeah.
So I ended up having a little hole in my boots and I would strap it every day. Duct tape was my best friend for about a week. Now, God bless, we did have, they would do these drops. So if you needed certain gear, like when we go up into the mountains, we needed different shit, like more ropes, ice picks, crampons. They would drop that off there. So I got my mountaineering boots, and thank God. I throw my other ones away.
Same pair?
No, they're different. They actually sucked more because they were plastic boots. But you just tough it out.
Really?
Yeah. So the mountaineering boots are plastic because they're going to be more firm, and you can put crampons on them. They have so much gear, man. It was gnarly.
So you were there for a total of 6 months?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And when you were getting ready to leave, were you ready to be done?
I was ready to come home and see my buddies. I'm really close with a lot of my friends from here, and it's like your first year away. Those
so
parties when you come back home.
You were a freshman, basically.
Yeah. Yep. It was 2014, 2015. So you come back home and you're like, damn. We get to hang out. Well, it was crazy because these guys all came back.
What a different experience you guys just had.
I didn't know how to explain it to them.
It's almost a point of separation.
100%. They just came back from their first year at college. They're rushing fraternities. They're going to frat parties. They're studying for stuff.
Sort of.
I'm just out in the fucking woods. And, yeah, the conversations were wild coming home.
You probably missed your buddies from Outward Bound, kind of. You were like,
yeah.
Well, to a degree. I mean, you'd only been gone for a year, but you're kind of most recent memories were not in the room.
No, they weren't.
Those guys weren't exactly relating to what you were saying. They're probably, oh, that sounds cool, Sean.
Yeah. I think until later on when they saw the pictures, and now, of course, we're 30 years out, they're like, fuck, man, I wish I would have gone and done that. And that is one thing that I really like because I have a little resentment. I never really did the whole SEC college thing, and I went and visited. I had my fair share. I don't think I needed it 100%. Yeah. But, I especially as I get older, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world.
No, that's a good one. It really is. It reminds me of where I went to college at Swanee in Tennessee, which was, it's very much, it's like that. It's not as intense. I mean, we're in Tennessee, we're in the United States, but we're on top of just the whole setting of they use the outdoors enormously there for teaching.
Okay.
And we had class outside all the time. And we're in the Cumberland Plateau or in the Smoky Mountains, Cumberland Plateau. And
I may have gone and toured. Is it surrounded by tall pine trees?
Well, it's kind of, if you're driving, Highway 24 goes past Nashville, then it goes Chattanooga, then you take 75 to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much right between Nashville and Chattanooga off 24. So when you're going up, it's the highest point between Nashville and Chattanooga before you start descending down into Chattanooga. And it's in Swanee, Tennessee. It's called the University of the South. And it's got about a 10,000 acre campus. It's called Domain technically. And it's, 90% wooded, 95% wooded. And there's just the school in the middle. And all the science, ecologies, biologies, all of that we took, we spent so much time outside for.
How cool is that?
It was really cool, and I could take us into many things about that, but it does remind me of that. It's sort of making me like that experience more, hearing about yours. So
it's different.
It is different, and it was also a really rigorous school that, the culture there was like after classes in the morning, like everyone goes to the library and studies, and then you go to dinner. And then, it was very sort of like, but it was a small school. So if you weren't doing that, you were sort of not hanging out with people to
you're
a
not
degree.
seeing anybody.
Yeah. And so I missed the big SEC. It's a small school. We had a football team and, win some, lose some. And, but definitely missed out on the big school thing. But, so had this been a 4-year program, even if you'd been going back to the same place, would you have been like, I'm going?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want to go back. Like, I also kind of kicked my, life happens real quick. And, I came back home and tried to go to school and do the whole 9 yards of like, I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to get a communications degree. It kind of turned into trying to do a business degree. I went to UMSL. They have a great business school. I love that school a whole lot. As we talked about earlier, I did not end up finishing UMSL, but it was kind of one of those things where they set you up at NOLS to be a wilderness guide. Like, I could have walked out of there and applied for a job and could have gotten in pretty easily.
They probably have really high placement percentages.
Yeah. Especially
know?
From this program, with it being a year, they cover everything. So whereas someone might do just the sea kayaking or just the rock climb or just the mountaineering, I found the one that you could do all of it.
Did you feel capable when you left?
Yes.
Like, had they been like, hey, Sean, we'd like you to stay here and guide the next trip.
Yeah. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, it would have been smooth as hell, but nobody would have died. Right. I would have gotten it through. It would have been great, and I would have been able to do some really good teaching. And to this day, like I said, it was kind of fun. I wanted to bring up certain points coming to talk to you guys. Yeah. So I kind of went through and did I wanted to update and see what their website was looking like, and I got on my old Facebook page and started going through pictures and stuff like that, and it just was like, holy shit, the amount of things that we do that you forget about just over time, and the amount of knowledge that I can relate to, even me just being comfortable of, like, when we go out on a vacation, or like we just went to Arkansas a couple weekends ago, and I'm like, if I forget, I'll just buy something there. You know what I mean? That comfortability of being able to get on a plane with a shirt and a T-shirt and just be like, if something happens,
I can get it on the other side.
I'll figure it out. Because out there, if something happens, you're screwed.
They got to airdrop you shit.
Like
some boots.
But yeah, exactly. God, that boot thing was so fucked up. But yeah, no, very capable. It's been nice too, because my buddies, I want to plan some stuff to go to Glacier, and nothing too crazy. I don't want to take anybody and have them have a horrible time.
Sure.
Just like I don't ever want to give somebody an edible and have them go to the moon. They'll never buy it again.
Right.
They'll never come hiking with me if I take them on a 60-day course and they just hate their life. So
probably not.
Yeah. So
probably would have scratched that itch.
100%. So it would scratch mine, and they would tell me to fuck off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, fully capable of doing anything after that.
What so before we jump from out, God, I almost said outward bound. NOLS, what other experience is there to kind of stick in your mind as far as when you walk out of there? Sounds like with some really good friends still, with highly capable as far as be able to do things outdoors across a wide range of things. And so you come home, as we talked about, and talking about UMSL and so forth. But before we jump full into that, is there anything else at NOLS that you feel like it really is the essence or a fun sort of happening that you think you'd would be interesting to share.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I could sit here and just go for hours and talk about all kinds of different things. Because
the more you think about
exactly, the more it comes to your mind. But I mean, a few things like the mountaineering was the best thing in the whole world. We got to be on a glacier. They have like one of the biggest glaciers besides Antarctica that it's still active, it's still moving. Glacier runoff. We did ice climbing and just crazy shit that you see on the Patagonia magazine. I'm like, oh, I was fucking there. But I would say the biggest thing for me is we saw some shit, like especially sea kayaking. That course was really hard. I love it. I don't want to say that I wish I never did it, but it was, out of everything that I did, that was one of the cruxes.
Why?
For sure.
I wouldn't assume that.
So the way that they do it, it's not like, you paddle around a little lake. We're out there for 36 days and you pack a tandem kayak and you're sleeping on the...
Meaning you're pulling one with shit behind you? Or
there's just two of you in a kayak. Because you have so much shit packed in this kayak, it takes two of you. A couple guys had singles. Sucked for them. Some guys liked it, but whatever. They're badass. Good for them.
Yeah.
But no, it was more just like you had to camp on... Wherever you camped that's like make or break it. Like camping on snow sucks. You got to do so much shit. I mean, I'm wiping my ass with snow. Like it was, it was not
real
fun.
Party. Yeah.
And so you're out here and you're on this coast. You got to read the tides, because I remember specifically one night we didn't read the tide right and we set our tent up. We had all this shit set out.
And sitting in the water.
Yeah, we woke up in the middle of the night and my buddy's out in his underwear grabbing our pots and pans and shit that you are not getting back and you're not going to see and it's just floating out into the ocean. Thank God we got it all.
Hopefully he got it all.
He did.
Yeah.
I was standing on the coast like, dude, there's another one over there.
Yeah, exactly. I can win that. Don't forget that one.
Yep.
Hell of a riptide tonight.
Yeah,
wow,
we're
that
not
thing's
gonna
really
make
getting out of
beans,
here.
bro. You got to go get the pressure cooker, dog. You like, get back out there. But no, I would say, but it was cool because in that scenario, we fucked up. We didn't pack all our stuff up. We got a little lackadaisical. Now, we didn't plan the tide right, but also we could have mitigated sending our homie out into the ocean in his underwear if we had just done what we had been training to do. And it was at the end of the course too. And they made a big point about that. And I always think about that. It's just like, man, if you just do it now.
You know what's crazy when those things happen is how obvious, when it all recedes, how obvious it is that was going to happen. You're like, how fucking stupid were we to put our shit?
They told us.
I mean, without even telling you, just look at it. There's still some pools and like there's shit. And you're just like, did I really? What were we doing? We must have been so tired by the time we got there. We just saw a clear space and we just jumped in it.
Said fuck it, and we paid for it. Yeah, and it happens, and that's how you learn. It's just like we were talking about. You make a mistake, and I'll tell you what, we planned it out a whole lot for the rest of the time.
We had, and what's interesting is you probably, the times it's happened to me is you see like the ravine that might be coming through. Or you're like, okay, water's passing through here, but we're definitely up out of the way.
Yeah.
But if something happens, 10,000 feet up, or 5,000 feet up and you're already pretty high, but something happens up there, that thing comes rushing up.
Comes up fast.
We've had like sleeping bags and tents like floating down the mountain. It's like, well, now we know that.
Yeah, that's the only way you can learn. And I didn't know, like we would learn about tides and read. We had a tide chart.
We're in Missouri. How are you supposed to know that shit?
I'm not in the river. I mean, I'm in the Huzzah, hanging out in the Big Piney. Just wow, this is crazy. But even down there, you can't just go jump in the Mississippi, especially if the tides. You can't just go jump in. People die out at Castlewood all the time because water's so dangerous. So add the factor of it being a freaking ocean. I mean, there were nights like we wake up every morning around 3 or 4 and you read the waves. And if there's any whitecaps, you got to wait like 6 or 7 hours before you go back out there because it's so choppy and it's cold as hell. The worst thing you want to do is flip over in that water.
Especially in a kayak. Kayaks are great when there aren't whitecaps.
Yeah. So we were lucky. We had some rudders and stuff on here, but man, no, you're getting tossed. And those waves were a lot bigger in them than you standing on the beach all warm.
Well, for real, I mean, the profile of a kayak is what, 9 inches or something like that?
Yeah.
And so if you're down in the swell of a wave, that wave, even if they're small waves, there only has to be a foot of a wave to roll you. It does. If you hit the wave wrong, it can really ruin your fucking
Which
week.
is cool. They teach you how to roll. They teach you how, we got spray skirts on and everything like that. But you're not rolling in a tandem kayak with 2 people.
No
way.
If he leans that way,
you're screwed, man.
Screwed.
But I would say that was a really eye opener, and like I said, I could go on for hours about
Dude,
the
that
trip.
Olympic fucking kayaking is insane.
How gnarly is that?
Those guys are nuts.
That is crazy, and people die doing that shit too.
I would imagine. Well, especially
crazy.
in a they build the course.
They do,
and then probably so people don't die because the rocks. So when these guys are rolling, they don't know if a rock is sitting.
They're doing the same shit in Colorado. I mean, they're doing the same shit on class 6, class 9. Fucking, I don't even know how high the level goes, but it's bad. I mean, it's like to a point, it's just like going to a black diamond in the back country, and there's just skulls on the sign. It's like, don't go down here unless you know how to ski.
And then beneath it says like, seriously.
Yeah,
it's like
you're
for
going
real.
to die.
Here's a list, and people are like, those guys didn't know how to ski.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way
they die.
I was at Telluride, and there were there's these giant chutes out there, and which is not my cup of tea, right?
Gnarly.
And my sister was out there, and she's like, yeah, so and so died out skiing up there, and I'm just like, I believe it.
Yeah.
That looks like something that would kill somebody.
There was just recently three pro Burton snowboarders who just died. I forget where it is. I want to say they were in Big Sky or something like that. I'm probably butchering it, but they're professional snowboarders. They died in an avalanche. It's just like these guys do this every single day. That's the other thing too. If you're out there every single day, your chances go way higher that something bad's gonna happen. But yeah, you figure it out. But the kayaking was gnarly. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as you go back to the kayaking, but snowboarding's hard on like a groom slope. Yeah. And
I switched over a few years ago, so I snowboard now. I used to sell snowboards and skis as well.
Yeah.
I love skiing. I probably would have been a better skier, but I had to go to the dark side.
Well,
my buddies all snowboarded.
I did the same thing, and it was a painful experience. Switching, my wrists still kind of click a little from all the falls that we take when we make that switch. And I just reached a point with skiing where I was like, if I'm going to get better, I'm probably going to get really hurt soon because that's just be part of that process. And I was
on more,
because I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, if I want to push this, I just have to be prepared that I'm really gonna fuck myself up some point, and I don't really want to do that.
No,
like I'm kind of over that, and so I'm just gonna learn how to snowboard, which I'll probably do. Something bad will likely occur, but it won't be probably at the same magnitude as to what I might find myself getting into.
I'm with you.
If I keep going with skis.
Do you still ski?
No, I haven't skied since I started snowboarding.
You don't even get out to Hidden Valley?
Well, no, I still go.
Oh, you still go hitting the mountain. So you've been snowboarding still. Oh, well, great. Yeah. Fantastic.
No, I actually went this year for the first time in a long time.
Nice.
And
Where'd you go?
Well, we just went to northern Michigan because we have young kids, and I didn't want to take them out to like super steep slope because they would have been like,
yeah, you got to start them.
Yeah, so we went up to northern Michigan, and it's a great place. Like the skiing there is really fun. Boyne Mountain.
Okay.
And just way up at northern Michigan. And there's Nubs Knob is up there as well. There are 3.
Nice.
Boyne Mountain? The 3 of them.
Is Monarch out there?
I don't know. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
That might be around. There are quite a few, but these are like they're Colorado-esque, meaning that they have like really nice gondola lifts. Like these aren't just like shitty little hills.
Is it a Vail? Does Vail own them? Probably.
So one of them is owned by a larger like Vail type company, and I think it's Boyne. It used to be called Boyne Highlands, and now it might just be called the Highlands. Okay. And I think they're owned by kind of a larger parent company that does like the Colorado stuff. But all the places there, because, they all have to keep up now. Whoever puts in the gondola, they're like, motherfucker, now we got to put one in. So it's really nice up there. And it was fun to snowboard with them. So we have 2 boys, and one is like, I'm going to snowboard. The other one was like, I'm going to ski, which was great because they could, while they were learning how to do it, also learn about being on lifts with a skier or a snowboarder, or sort of having to coexist with these 2 different sports. because they're different sports for sure. I mean,
even getting off the lift is different.
Dude, the first time you get off on a lift on a fuck, no one tells you.
No, because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do to prevent the fucking shit show that's going to ensue the second that lift starts and you got to put that thing down.
You're looking at everybody next to you like, all right, guys, it's about to go down.
I don't know if you I did not take lessons. I just grabbed it. I was like,
snowboarding, I didn't take lessons. Yep.
And I got on the lift and I was getting up to the top and I was like, my other foot's not in this thing. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. It was a full yard sale. And everyone's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, I got no idea, but I'll be better soon. soon.
Catch me on the next lift. Yeah.
So let's move on. So NOLS, you get back and you're like, I'm going to go do this. Mm-hmm. So where'd you end up? Take me just kind of the rest of the journey to where you sit today. You're at Smokiez.
So I came back. I ended up going to Webster University for a little bit because the credits transferred to Webster University. Great school. I had a blast. I had a couple courses. But long story short, ended up at Webster for about a year. I did, half a year. I did 2 semesters there. And then I ended up wanting to go to a different school. And my little brother had gone to, he wanted to apply to DU. So I'm like, oh, cool. We wouldn't be in school at the same time. No, Boulder is in Boulder. That's Colorado Boulder. Or CU Boulder. DU is in Denver.
Okay.
So it's Denver University.
Got it.
So I went to Denver University after Webster and stayed in a dorm. Never been in a dorm. I was 21 at the time. My roommate was not 21. And I was like, I didn't know anybody. I knew a couple people who lived in Denver, but no one at the school. So I was like going out trying to make friends, and I'd be drinking every night and stuff like that. I was always a really good student. Like I always went to class, which I tell people, young guys that we hire today, it's like, if you're in school, dude, just go. Like if you just go to school and you just go to class, you'll figure it out. 9 out of 10 times.
They'll tell you a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Not school in general, but showing up to class is easier than it looks. And, but I'll tell you what, that school was really, really hard. And I couldn't find the connection to the school and to the environment. And it just didn't really work out for me. So I ended up leaving that school, coming back home. And that's where I found UMSL.
Okay.
So at that point, I was like working. I've always had 2 jobs. I worked landscaping for forever. And then I was working at the Alpine shop. Met a buddy there. We fell in love over snowboarding. We would go out to the mountains and ski and stuff like that. We sold skis. We sold all the gear that I got to use at NOLS. I sold footwear. So I got to take some of that into this store. Got like a general manager position at 21 just to sell hard goods and things like that. So I was able to use some skills, which I was happy to be back in an environment that, I spent so much time in.
Yeah.
So moved in with him, had an apartment. It was all fun and games. We were having a blast. He ended up having a kid and doing his own thing. And that's when I went back in, lived with my dad for a little bit, found a new apartment, went there, stayed there for forever, started going to UMSL, got into business school. And I think UMSL is a phenomenal school. I really, really liked that school a lot. I took a lot of random classes. I didn't know what I was going to do. Right. And honestly, to this day, I still don't have any clue what I'm going to do.
Well, I think a lot of people just
figure it out. Yes. And honestly, I think my problem was I thought that I needed to find something I was going to do, and then that would be a straight path, and then I'd be making money and I'd have a job. And you realize as you get older, like there's a lot of – it's kind of why I respect what you guys are doing here so much is it's just like you came up with an idea and now you're building it into fruition. Like, but it's based off of stuff that you – did for so long and you saw you had a vision and you just work every day towards it. You don't really know, like we've got a podcast and you guys have that awesome video series, you know what I mean? It's just like different things happen. And so I ended up I took a music course. I know you're really into music.
Yeah.
Took a music course where they just went through like the history of music, and I always played guitar, and I started getting really more into guitar and learning about music theory and stuff like that. And I didn't take it anywhere. I still do it to this day, but I think college is a great avenue for that. But anyway, I took some business courses, was able to get an understanding of kind of, I could break into a small sales area and kind of learn. I've always been an on hands kind of guy.
Yeah.
If you show me how to do it, I might fuck it up one time, but like I will figure out how to do it right, and then I won't ask you anymore.
Yeah.
So after UMSL, we had some stuff that kind of happened, and it just, well, we had some stuff happen. We had COVID happen, so I kind of didn't really, they went all online, and I just didn't go back. I finished out my semester and was kind of just like,
probably not the only one.
I think it happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I still have all my credits and everything. If I want to go back one of these days, I can always get it done.
You never know.
But and I definitely am a big proponent of school for everybody. I think school is great if it works for you. Yeah. If you find something that you're passionate about and you figure out a lane to go that way, dude, grind that out. Like, if you want to go to Rankin, you're gonna make more money than me where I'm at right now. Just having a labor job or working for a union or something like that. But anyway, I left UMSL, and then I kept on doing landscaping. Was kind of like in a weird spot where didn't know what I was gonna do. Still working for Alpine Shop. Kind of took on more of a leadership role in the landscaping realm. And then I got offered a part-time job as a brand ambassador at Smokiez, just because hands you shake kind of deal. And I did really well as a brand ambassador and wanted to take on some more, talk to my VP, and he said, hey, we'll give you a couple accounts and see how it goes. And now I'm helping out my director as one of the assistant sales managers, and so far it's going well. I'm having a blast. It's
just amazing how there's so many stories that's where people entered, right? It's not something they planned for, but it's something, it's the, preparation meets opportunity or whatever it is. I mean, it's just, that's for almost all things, it seems it's the rare situation that is linear and very planned. There are people out there who, your lawyers, your doctors, private equity, people who have just been like, since they were in like, ninth grade, are like, I'm going to do this. And there's nothing that's going to tear me off of it.
And I love that. The determination. My dad's one of those people. He's an ENT surgeon. So like he grinded his way. There was a straight path, but even he had bumps in the road. I mean, I hear stories, maybe he'll see this, maybe he won't, but like he has stories of going out, partying his ass off in college, missing an exam and being like, oh, fuck, like med school, see you later. They're hard as hell over there. And he was able to kind of up by your bootstraps and figure it out. And now he is where he is today. He's got an amazing business over with Sound Health in Kirkwood. And he does phenomenal. I mean, and he loves his job. He works, I think, way too freaking hard, but he's a doctor. He's out here making people's lives better. Yeah,
it probably doesn't feel like work totally.
Yeah, I think he wished one of us out of the three would have gone in and did it. But I said, nah, man, I want to go to the woods. I want to go to the woods instead.
Well, it's a rare person who knows kind of at such a young age what they want to do. That's why there is liberal arts education, because the whole concept being that it's an exposure to all the different sort of verticals, I guess, of academics, all these different subjects, and that's why they're graduate schools. Once you leave your liberal arts school, you don't know shit. You know how to think real well, but you're going to go work. And now once you know what you want to do, you can go get your master's or whatever you want to do. So it's by design.
I have a ton of buddies who have these college degrees, and they do something else now that's super lucrative, and they love it, and has nothing to do with what they did in college.
I was a biology major.
Yeah, there you go. Here we are. It's awesome. But that's super cool. You learn some things and you figure it out, and that's why I love take extracurricular in college. I mean, take some random ass classes that you would have never thought you liked.
Yeah,
you might find your new career right there.
You really do. You don't never know, and usually it may not be the subject, but there's somebody in there who might inspire you to do something that takes you in just a really good way.
It's like you and Lee meeting at work, and look at where we're at. And then Kelsey
crazy.
And Rachel. I mean, this is just like a dream team that's just kind of all come together from different aspects all over the place, and that's what makes a cool team. I mean, if you can get hardworking people in the same room, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I think of it as like a band, right? Which is you've got people who can just play their instruments really well, and it's just crazy how all these paths cross, and it's rarely as a result of having read someone's resume.
Yeah, resumes they're very important, but they're also they don't tell the whole story.
They don't, and anyone who's writing a resume, oftentimes it's maybe the best look.
One thing I learned this from one of my bosses in landscaping. He would always be like, "Okay, if you call me I want you to tell me at least 2 things that you tried. I don't care if you threw a rock in the hole. Like, I don't care what it is. Don't call me and say, this is the problem, how can we fix it? Call me and say, hey, I tried this and this. I'm stuck. Now I need some guidance. And he's like, as long as you bring to me a proposed solution, it could be the worst solution in the world, but as long as I know that you thought about it and like are doing your job to proactively help, dude, we're good. I'll help you out. It'll be fine. Now, of course, you fuck up over and over and over again. Sorry, buddy. I maybe we should find something else to do.
The job's not that hard.
100%. But, you know, it takes all kinds. And I'm happy, just as you have a great team, like, I really love our team. I don't know any other company where I could pick up the phone right now and call our VP of sales and be like, dude, I need help with this, or can you tell me about this account? But it feels good to know that you have a support system, and our team works really, really well together across. It's a big state, man.
It is.
A shit ton of dispensaries.
It is a huge state.
Yeah, it's big.
As states go.
And I help out in Illinois as well. So it's just every day. Every day there's something new.
Yeah, every day there's something new. Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, man.
Please. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been fun to learn about Smokiez and your story. So thank you.
Hey, brother. Appreciate you. Yes, sir.